Okay. See, now we are mapping one to one, something like this. So that's why the address ID column is generated in the user table. So we can do, differently also. Okay, now I'm trying to create one mapping from address. So when we are doing from address to the user, so configure to the user class. And what column you wanted to map in user? User ID. So now I'm removing the other side. I'm just generating the getters and setter methods. Now if you see, what did I do? I removed one-to-one mapping from user entity, and I created one-to-one mapping from address entity. Now let's go and generate the I1 schema SQL. It's done. Now you can see, user ID column is generated in address table, and in the prior user there is no address ID. And you can see here, prior address the address table is having a reference to user table based on the user ID column. So this is the other way you can do it. So, but still, if you do like this, the another thing, let's say from user, you want to get address. In the user entity, there is no reference to the address entity. But once you have the address, you can get user. How do you get, this is, so far you see the unidirectional mapping from user to address or from address to user. That is unidirectional relationship. Now, how can we make bi-directional relationship? That means from user, I should be able to get the address. From the address, I should be able to get the user. How do you make that bi-directional mapping? To do that, just copy, you can keep the as is one-to-one mapping, and in the user entity, we are also doing one-to-one mapping. Yep, one-to-one. And you can do map by. It should be mapped by. You have to use map by. How do you want to map by? So this, whatever the name that you give here. Why this is compliance? We'll see. Okay. Mapped by the user. That's a user here. Mapped by whatever the variable you are giving here, user, that should exactly match this one. Let's say I'm giving user 1, it should match user 1. So we are mapping with a variable name, mapped by user, and now give whatever you want, private, the address, private address. And then we just generate the getter and setter methods for address. So now what did I do? I have the two-way bidirectional mapping from user to the address. Here I'm not keeping any join column or anything like that, because other side I'm just mapping with whatever the mention. Here the line, this is join column. That means create the user ID column on address table, but use the map by direction. Now let's see and generate the SQL query for out of this configuration. It should not change any of your script. Script should be as is. Now you see it here, no change. Though I added the address mapping in the user entity, you don't see any changes in the script. That's how you can establish bidirectional relationship. Any questions?
No question.
Okay. So, any other questions, Arun and Rahul?
Then what's the use of mapping on both sides?
From whenever you have a user object, you want to get address. If I don't have this mapping, you cannot get address object. So think everything from the Java perspective. Forget about the database. So once you get the user object, you want to get address. How do you get? You can't get the address object if I remove this mapping. That's the purpose of it. Both sides. I mean, if you are in address object, you can get user. If you are in user object, you can get address. That's the part of the bidirectional relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like we can do this bidirectional relationship in one-to-many and many-to-one.
Yes, you can establish bidirectional relationship mapping in any of 4 different mappings: one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, many-to-many. You can do the same kind of a scenario in all 4 cases.
Okay.
Okay, and now let's talk about many-to-one relation. Okay. Now I leave it this way, and in the address table, now I'm creating one more entity, city. I'm creating the for address. I'm adding the city. Okay, I'm creating one more entity, city, and then adding an ID column and just the city name. I'm giving only, I'm trying to create only ID and name per city. So name and city ID. Instead of address ID, I'm making city ID. So that means this table will hold only city ID and name. Okay, creating set and get methods to access the properties. Now let's go back to the address. Here, how do we are going to map city? So many addresses can have the same city name. So assume that that is the actual scenario on the ground, right? We are going to map that scenario. Many addresses can have the same city name. How you can do that? So to do that, many-to-one. and join column. How do you want to join column? Name. What is the column that you want to join? City ID. And private. What object we are going to map? Prio city. Think everything in the Java object perspective. Now you can see many to one join column city ID and city ID in the city object. So that's all you need to do.
So even though we don't do the many to one mapping, it will allow
Yeah.
I mean, even though we don't do the many to one mapping, it will allow, right? Many
don't allow. The column generation, the side of the column generation will change. So now because I did the many to one, the city ID will be, column will be created on the address table. If I don't give one to one, city ID column will be created on the city table. So depending on what kind of relation you are mapping, Hibernate will deal with it when generating SQL queries and everything. Based on this mapping, the Hibernate will internally generate the SQL queries.
Okay.
Now let's say I have the city. Something is failed here. What's that?
We have to add configuration, right, in metadata sources.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the problem. So now the new file, I am adding the new entity into the export. So because now you see, right, when I am trying to export, it failed because address entity has mapping to the city and city is not configured here. That's why it is failed. Yeah. Now you can see different steps. You can see the city with the city ID and name. New table is created. And in the address, you see here, city ID is part of the address table. And then somewhere you should see the city ID. You can see the city ID is having a difference between address table and city table. So these are the two additional queries will be generated, SQL structure is generated as part of the new configuration that we made. So that's how you can make one to many, many to one. Any questions?
No question.
Okay. Now let's say I got to show you one to many. This is many to one. Let's say one user has what the example I can take. Let's I'm changing this relation to one user can have multiple addresses, for example. So that means one user to many addresses. So now I'm removing the previous example that I made one-to-one mapping. Okay, now here one to many. And so join column is user ID because What's that? Join column. Yeah. Join column is user ID. We are joining them based on the user ID column, and it is one-to-many. That means one user will hold many addresses. How? It cannot be a simple object. It will be a list of objects because many. Private list and private address, address list, new array list. So because one user object will hold multiple addresses. Just generating the getter and setter methods for address list. Okay. So now, and go to the address. I will remove this. Yeah. So now once I add this one-to-many mapping, let's see how the Hibernate generates the SQL script. So now you can see in the address ID, user ID is there, and in the address table itself, you see that user ID, right? And so that means you can add any number of address records to the user, and then the reference. Yeah, this is what. That's it. So that's how you can do one-to-many mapping. So now, so far, these are all simple ones. Now, how you can do many-to-many, meaning one employee can have, one user can have many addresses, and one address can have many users. So that means from both sides, we are anticipating many-to-many relationship. How do we do that? So to do that, you will end up having a join table because you cannot keep CTID column in user or, what is that? Not this one. Not this one. Here. So here you cannot keep user ID column in the address table because you cannot make a unidirectional situation. Let's see. Maybe I'll show you a graphical. I am just trying to get any picture of many-to-many. No, I don't have. Okay. I thought of showing you a picture in case if something is available. That's fine. So here what we are going to do is many-to-many relationship. When you do many-to-many, you need to do same thing, many-to-many, and you cannot do join column because we are not going to insert user ID column on the address table. We need to have a central table between address and user. So this will go away. Let's see the syntax. I should have the syntax. Just a minute. I don't have anything. Give me a minute, I'll check something. Something I have, I forgot which place it is. Maybe, let's see. Yeah, this one. Yeah, this is how it should be. So when we are doing one-to-many, so even many-to-many, you cannot keep a user column onto a different table. We are having a joint table between the two entities, between others and user, joint table. And you can give whatever the name you want. Name can be user underscore address, some joint table name, and what columns to join between the two entities. Now, join column, okay, join columns, I think. Join columns equal to at the rate, I'll explain you once. Let me write this first. English, right? Maybe I'll copy and this is a little bit complicated to map. Okay. That's it. I think in address, name, user. Let's see. generate the SQL query and see how it generates. Okay. Okay. Now, I generated successfully. I'll explain you now. So when you have a many-to-many mapping, so you cannot have user ID column in address or address ID column in user, because if you make a column on one of these tables, meaning you can have only one-to-one relationship or one-to-many relationship or many-to-many, many-to-one relationship, but you cannot achieve many-to-many relationship. To do that, we will end up having a join table between the two tables, address and user. So the join table name, I'm keeping it as user underscore address. I mean, this name you can give whatever the name you like. And what columns you want to join between these two entities. The first column, I'm joining user ID from user table and inverse. Inverse means the opposite table. So in the inverse, what column you want to do? This one is email ID. Let's change it to address ID. So this is the opposite table. I am mapping with the address ID. And because it is many-to-many, you need to have collection, because one user can have multiple addresses. Now let's generate the SQL query out of this. Now let's come back to, you can see here, user address table is created, which is having user ID and address ID, two columns part of this table, and how this table is established relation between user and address. So you can see user address is having address ID relation with address table, and user address is having user ID relationship with user. Now, other thing, if you look at here in the address table, you don't see user ID column. Even in the here you don't see address ID column. So that means we established many-to-many relationship between two tables, having a join table. Any questions? You're able to understand?
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
So now, there are the three different relationships you can establish. I showed you only unidirectional relationship. The exercise for you is establish bidirectional relationship for all those four different relations: one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many. That's the homework for you.
What are the most extensively used out of these four?
It all used, when you are implementing a larger project, you will end up using all these relations. It all depends on how is your business requirement. Let's say one employee is having multiple addresses. You will end up using one-to-many. So it all the relationships based on your business requirement.
Okay.
So ideally, you will end up using all these relations a lot.
Okay.
Okay. Let me stop.